America is deeply divided. There are only two sides to every issue, and there is no interest in finding common ground, not even with members of your own family. But as the 2024 presidential election looms on the horizon, there has never been a more important time to have the necessary conversation.
Hello, and welcome to the Necessary Conversation. I am Chad Kultgen. You are with me and my family, Haley Pope and Mary Lou and Bob Kultgen. My sister, Haley, is a fellow lefty, and my parents are deep QAnon MAGA supporters. We have a conversation every week about the top political news of the week. My dad, for those just listening, was flipping off the camera. You can also watch this on YouTube if you want to see that action. So, we had a big week this week in some various things, but I did want to go back and talk about a prediction, Dad, that you made 240 days ago.
Yeah.
You said a nuclear weapon would be used in the war in Ukraine within 30 to 40 days. We are again now 240 days past that prediction. Has the prediction failed?
No.
All right. Moving on.
I'm just early. It's coming.
Okay. I got it.
Ukraine will be a dust bowl before it's over.
Okay.
All right. We'll see. Now, we begin every one of these episodes with a question from a listener. If you would like to submit a question, you just send an email with a 1 minute or shorter audio file with your question in it to thenecessaryconversationpod@gmail.com, and I go through all of those. Today, we have a question from Oliver Blue. Are you ready for this question?
That doesn't even sound like a real name. I'm sorry, but I would like to see his face.
He's probably got blue fingernails.
Oliver Blue.
Okay. Oliver Blue is a real person. I can guarantee it. And here we go.
Hey, Kultgen family. This is Oliver from, let's just say, the United States, so Bob can't call me a communist. Nice try.
Because you are.
I am turning 25 this coming Sunday, the 3rd. So I just kind of wanted to hear from each of you what your life was like when you were turning 25 and how you saw your life going. Appreciate you guys always. Thanks for listening to the question and The Rock 2024.
The Rock? He wants The Rock to be president in 2024.
Is that for me?
It's for each of us. What was your life like at 25? We should all say what our ages are currently as well.
I'm 70, and at 25, I was just coming out of the United States Air Force defending the country. For old Mr. 25-year-old, I don't know my ass from a hole in the ground.
Who was the president at that time?
Gerald Ford, I believe.
I think so.
I fueled up his airplane.
And do you think that the world is drastically different now than you thought it was going to be when you were 25?
Oh, it's 10 times worse.
10 times worse than you thought it would be. When you were 25, what did you think the world would be like when you were 70?
I thought it was going to just keep going on like we were because we were kicking ass, taking names.
Yeah.
Killing Chinese, by the way.
Oh my God. We're not even a minute in. Okay. So
Vietnam War, all we were killing was Chinese.
All right.
Okay.
So you were coming out of the war, killing Chinese people. And Mom, what was your life like when you were 25? You got to lean into the camera there a little bit.
Let's see. I had Chad at what, 21?
You were at home in Spokane.
I can't remember what I did 5 minutes ago, actually.
You were in Spokane. You were in Spokane.
25 years ago?
No, when you were 20.
Oh, when I was 25. That's right.
Jesus.
No. I had Chad.
And I have dementia.
Okay, wait a minute. I had Chad at 21, right? I had Chad when I was 21 years old.
Right.
Okay. That's when we were in Spokane.
Yeah.
And then we came back to Great Bend.
25. I was thinking different too.
Yeah. See?
I was 22.
Yeah.
All right. So what was 25?
3 years later, we had already moved back. We were going to K-State.
We had graduated with our college degrees. Chad was 3 years old.
And the world looked great.
And we were happy then because we were finally out of school and finally could make some money and not be poor.
Yeah, and we weren't worried about inflation,
Where to buy
World War III, any of that shit.
We were poor though, so it was hard buying groceries sometimes, but it wasn't about inflation. It was
but we were optimistic about what the future was.
Right.
And what year was this?
Let's see. When I was
80?
25,
76,
I was born in 53.
80.
Yeah,
80.
No, yeah, that'd be about
79.
Would have been like in the late 70s.
79.
Okay. Interesting. And now you feel that the world has gone to shit. There is no hope, et cetera, et cetera.
I feel there's
if Donald Trump is not president next go around, this world as we know it is over.
I feel like there's no patriotism.
There is no hope. For you two, there's zero hope unless Trump is your president.
All right.
I'll promise you that right now. If Trump is not your president, neither one of you will recognize where you live in 2 years.
All right. Haley, how old are you now? And what was the world like? What was your life like at age 25?
I am currently 42. At 25, God, so long ago.
You had
I graduated.
Didn't you?
I had 2. I had already graduated from K-State, had my first job. Conrad was working. I think we lived in Texas. I decided to quit my job and stay home and have kids.
Wait
so
a minute,
I had
that was wife beater shirt in the back, and he locked you in the fence. He locked the fence with you with the white beater shirt on.
There was one time he went to work and I was home and we had just had a new puppy. We had Duff. And I went to let him outside and I was in my underwear, like what I was sleeping in. And Conrad locked me out of the house on accident and I had to climb the fence. I had to climb our back fence because it had a lock on it from the outside. I had to climb the back fence. Yes. In my underwear. I had to climb the back fence and go to our neighbor's house, and she was Turkish and English was not her first language. I'm knocking on her door at like fucking 6:30 a.m. with a tiny Shiba Inu under my arm in my underwear. I'm like, can I use your phone? Yeah. So at 25, I had 2 kids. I had Roman and Willow.
Yeah.
Was a stay-at-home mom. We actually, I think, moved to Colorado at that point. So we lived in Colorado. I didn't fucking know anybody. I was a full-time mom. I was momming it. I don't even remember thinking about politics around that time. Everything seemed
because
fine.
It wasn't going to change your life.
It wasn't even a thought. I don't think I started thinking about.
Now it is.
I didn't start thinking about politics until maybe like really thinking about it until Sandy Hook, maybe. Because I had kids in elementary school that happened and it like brought me to my fucking knees. But at 25, I was a stay-at-home mom, had 2 kids, living in a nice house in Colorado, fucking, we didn't have a lot of disposable income. So like we didn't take vacations or anything, but we lived in the mountains. So it was a good life. 25 was good for me.
Were you baking cakes then?
I mean, yeah, but just for shits and gigs. It wasn't like an occupation. I was literally full-time momming.
Yep.
25 for me was around the year 2001, I believe. I was a couple of years out of college. I had graduated USC Film School and was out here in Los Angeles pursuing my dreams, my little dreams of being a Hollywood writer still. I, at the time, I believe, was working for E! Entertainment Television as a PA on an old show called Celebrity Profile that was largely a clip show, an interview package show of various celebrities. And I got fired from that job because I spent too many hours in the tape vault watching old interviews of like bands and shit that I liked. They were like, what are you doing? Do your job. And I was like, fuck you. I'm watching these interviews. And they were like, well, you're fired. But yeah, I remember that. What's that?
Was that the magazine that you worked for, the 504, 405?
No, that was after that. I worked for that magazine almost immediately out of college when I was like 21 or 22 or whatever. So this was like a few years after that. And I still hadn't sold anything, still didn't have an agent, was just kind of like bumming around out here, no kids, getting drunk almost constantly with my friends, going out to bars and shit like that, just living it up. Definitely not thinking about politics. George Bush Jr. would have been, I believe, in his first term when I was 25. and 9/11 it had happened.
Yes. Yeah, it
That
had
was in
happened.
2001. So yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely remember that 9/11 had gone down, and it was weird. That happened, I think, when I was 24 was 9/11, because I remember getting
9/11 was 22 years ago today.
yeah. Oh shit, we're recording on 9/11. Strangely
Uh-huh.
enough. So yeah, to me 9/11 was kind of like the shattering of the image I had of America, American politics, and all of that kind of stuff. It really did feel like growing up as a kid in the 80s that America was fucking absolutely untouchable, on top of the world, the number one badass ass kicking machine, as dad said, kicking ass, taking names, killing the Chinese in Vietnam. It felt like that, and all of the media that surrounded kind of the image of what it was to be American up to that point was in that regard. Big
So
ass kicking people. What?
So you did have patriotism then?
When?
25 years ago. Or I mean, when you
no,
were 25.
I don't think I've ever really had patriotism. I didn't give a shit about it. Like, it was interesting in a Hulk Hogan, Top Gun kind of like, yeah, Americans are awesome. It was part of media to me, but it never really soaked into my core. I never really gave a shit about like America as a concept, I guess. But
we're fucking killers. You just might as well get used to it.
All right. Well, Oliver, thank you for the question. I hope that answered it properly. And again,
Blue. Oliver Blue.
Oliver's from California. He doesn't need to hide it.
No, I don't think he is.
I do.
That was a very nice question, and
yeah,
it was a nice one. I don't think he's from California.
I think he's from California.
Oliver Blue, Oliver.
Oliver Blue's got blue fingernails and spiked hair and an earring through his fucking nose.
No, he doesn't.
Speaking of blue, the all blue.
Just like
are
yours,
you guys
Haley.
watching? Are you guys watching One Piece?
No,
I have not yet. The
What
live
is
action one?
Yes, please watch it, because I thought the same thing. It's going to be shit. You can't do anime live action. What the fuck? I can't get enough. It's really One Piece.
And what's it on to watch? What's it
Netflix.
on?
Go watch it.
Okay.
One Piece is one of the longest running anime series of all time. It's considered a masterpiece, and they made a live action version of it. I don't know. We'll see.
This brings up one other thing real quick. When we were on a few episodes ago and we were talking about AI and stuff, Dad's like, nah, not an AI, nah. When Roman left our house last time, Dad pulled him to the side and said, Roman, that computer science degree, that's a good one, but you need to just switch it up and go a little bit more into AI.
I mean, that's what computer science is now. Coding is done. Human beings will not code. Within a year, that's going to be over. He needs to figure out how the fuck to use AI now. He needs to start looking for open AI.
Got him a summer job with a company that wants him when he gets
Haley's got connections.
Yep. And it's AI.
Okay. Right. Well, speaking of age, let's move on to our first topic. Nancy Pelosi is running again.
No, she isn't.
The 88-year-old former
House
Speaker.
She won't fucking run.
Okay. So the news story I'm going to read
there you go. Now you're telling it right.
83-year-old former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Friday that she will seek re-election to Congress in 2024 as Democrats try to win back the majority. Republicans currently control the House narrowly with a 222 to 212 majority and one vacancy. Democrats believe they have a chance to regain power as President Joe Biden runs for his second term. Pelosi's announcement quells any talk of retirement for the long-serving leader who, with the honorific title of Speaker Emeritus, remains an influential lawmaker, pivotal party figure, and strong fundraiser for Democrats. Her decision to try and maintain her seat in the Senate comes as Washington is grappling with the effects of an older generation of politicians starting to show signs of aging. 80-year-old President Joe Biden, as well as 77-year-old former President Donald Trump, both routinely slur their words, create words that don't exist, and have general lapses in understanding.
Did you see the old geezer Trump throwing footballs at the Iowa State football game?
I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
I know you didn't see it.
81-year-old Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell has had multiple moments of staring into space in silence in the middle of answering a question or delivering a speech in public. California Senator Dianne Feinstein has had similar episodes during official Senate votes.
From her wheelchair.
Yes. My first question is not age-related, but do you think Pelosi will win re-election, and will the Dems win Congress again? Haley.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I hope so. I hate
answer.
Pelosi, but like, I hope so.
Okay, Mom. Will she win re-election?
I do not. It's a hard one. No, I don't think so. And the only reason she's running is to keep herself and her husband out of jail and all her Democratic friends. That's the only reason she's running.
As we get closer, she will not run.
Interesting. Why?
She can't run.
Why?
Because she can't. First of all, she can't win. She won't be speaking. Even if she wins, they won't elect her Speaker of the House. She's too fucking old. She's done. All she's doing now is trying to keep her wealth and her ass out of prison.
I agree with that.
But when she gets,
agree.
Hey, you stop and look at this in, I don't know when her term's up, probably November.
Mm-hmm.
All right. By the time we get there, hell, she may be blind.
Well, that was my next question. Do you think Pelosi's going to start to suffer from age-related decline like her counterparts?
She already has.
Yeah.
She's had $2 million worth of facelifts.
No, but she hasn't had moments like Mitch McConnell where she's just staring into space silently.
Oh, she has.
Not that I'm aware of.
But she hasn't been caught with it yet.
How old is she? She 81?
83.
83. I mean, yeah, it's coming. It's around the corner.
Look, no, some people, though, this doesn't happen to. These age-related kind of like moments, senior moments, as they're sometimes called.
Well, it's going to happen to her. It already has. You don't watch enough television.
See. Okay, I don't watch enough television? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
One of
Mitch
my jobs is
McConnell.
literally watching reality TV 24 hours a day.
She's on CNN and MS fake news all the time doing stupid things.
Okay, let him talk.
Mitch McConnell has to be retired like fucking immediately. He can't even fucking stand up anymore.
But
there's
he's not
nothing there.
You talking about Biden?
No, Mitch.
Biden too. Biden is
Mitch.
I cannot continue to watch this man just stand on a
Mitch
microphone
is only 6 months behind Biden.
Yeah, they all are bad.
Yeah.
So this leads me to my next question. What has to happen publicly on camera before some kind of mental faculty test is administered to these older members of government?
They're going to drop over.
They will die.
So that's what
like
we
literal flatline.
My contention is somebody's got to get rid of Camel Face Harris before Joe falls and breaks his neck.
Okay.
We cannot afford to have that retarded bitch running anything.
Okay. So the question was, what has to happen for us to implement some kind of test that's administered to these older members of the government?
What's happening is already, like, we've already hit that, but nothing's happening.
That's what I'm saying. It's like Sandy Hook, like you're saying. Sandy Hook happened. I thought for sure now there's going to be gun reform. Nope, nothing. Yeah. We are watching Mitch McConnell fucking staring into space. People are literally asking him questions. Mitch, are you okay? Are you okay? And he's just staring dead-eyed into nowhere. And then he comes out 2 days later with like a fake doctor note saying, everything's fine here. It's like, besides, it's not fine.
You know what Mitch is doing? Just wait a second. My pants will be full in a minute. Now we can start again.
Stop it.
You think he's shitting in these moments?
It's not funny to me.
Taking a shit.
Okay. It's not funny to me. It's very sad that
they haven't hooked him up with Depends yet.
That the people around them don't say enough is enough. You're done. Let's go.
But I think it's the people around them want to prop them up because those people are also gaining political and financial advantage by having that person in that chair, especially if they're fucking docile, especially if they can kind of like whip them around and just wheel them out every once in a while. Okay, raise your hand now. You have to vote.
Okay. Don't fall over.
And same way with Biden. My Lord, today in the.
You see what he said in Vietnam?
He was in Vietnam, and at the end.
That's the end of my speech. I got to go home and go to bed.
Yes, I did see that. All right, well, let's move on. Speaking of Biden, our next topic is, what is Biden doing today on September 11th? On Monday, President Joe Biden.
He's in Alaska.
Exactly. He marks the
That's
22nd
sad.
anniversary of the September 11th attacks in Alaska instead of the traditional New York City, Virginia, or Pennsylvania events. He's returning from a trip to India for the G20 summit and his first visit to Vietnam since taking office. He's set to speak in front of 1,000 first responders and their families at a military base in Anchorage, Alaska. Vice President Kamala Harris will represent the White House at the National September 11th Memorial and Museum in Lower Manhattan. In his first year as president, Biden visited all 3 memorial locations in New York, Shanksville, and Arlington on the 20th anniversary of the attacks. In 2022, he marked the occasion at the Pentagon. Biden's visit to Alaska will not be the first time that a president has not attended annual observances at any of the 3 sites. In 2015, Obama participated in a moment of silence on the White House lawn before going to Fort Meade in Maryland to recognize the military's work protecting the country. And in 2005, President George W. Bush also marked the anniversary on the White House lawn. Trump spent all 4 of the anniversaries during his presidency at Ground Zero, the White House, the site of the United Flight 93 crash in Shanksville, and at the Pentagon, respectively. So
the problem is with Joe Biden, he couldn't stand up long enough to go to New York.
Okay. Let Chad ask the question.
Does it matter to you at all where the president is, where the physical body of the president is on 9/11? Haley?
No.
Of course
No,
not.
I don't think it matters as long as they come on TV, fucking say what they're gonna say. I like what I don't know. Doesn't matter to me.
Mom?
Yes, it matters to me. How would you feel, Haley, if that was your dad, your brother, your mom that got killed when on 9/11 there, and then on that day the president makes a speech in a different country, another part of the world?
They're acknowledging the event. They are talking about the event. It's not that they're not. Now, it would be a different story if they just completely omitted it from their fucking daily chores. Not gonna do it.
I think his handlers,
It's total disrespect.
his people didn't want him there because of how he speaks now and what he says, and
he couldn't stand up.
And he walks away from ceremonies that aren't even finished and done with prayers.
I don't
What the fuck
disagree.
is he doing?
I don't disagree. He couldn't make it physically because he's fucking on the brink of death. But to me, it doesn't matter.
They got old Horseface Harris doing her best not to giggle.
To me, it's just
she's holding it back. You can see her starting to smile, and then she sucks it back in.
To me, it's disrespect.
Fucking retarded ass.
It is also what he's trying to do. The people that are in jail for this, he wants to let them off the hook, more or less, and no death sentence. He wants to let them out of it, whatever. That's terrible.
What?
He wants to let who?
He wants to. It's not
the people who engineered the 9/11 strike are no longer on death row. They're going to get life in prison instead of being executed.
He's trying to get this passed.
You didn't know this?
Osama bin Laden is dead. We know that, right?
That ain't who orchestrated
we accept that.
Oh, the mastermind behind it all, who set it all up.
Yeah,
he had a sentence to death. They were in Guantanamo Bay. Biden is now trying to orchestrate a deal where they get life in prison and not executed. And there's like 5 of them.
Okay.
I mean, isn't that kind of worse?
Yeah.
No.
Being tortured every day in Guantanamo Bay is not worse than execution.
Tortured? The fucking guy's living the life of Riley.
Living the life.
If you had family members that were killed there, you wouldn't like that. Eye for an eye.
They're not even going to kill those motherfuckers.
I think that rotting in prison for the rest of your fucking life instead of just the fucking dying instantaneous, like, I think that's much worse. I'd rather fucking die if I was in prison than spend my rest of the days in prison.
Well, that's not the point. Everybody else thinks it's a fucking nastiest thing Biden could do.
Okay,
Here it
so
is.
nastiest thing.
Here, listen.
Okay.
It's pulling up. Biden
rejects proposed conditions
for plea deal for 9/11. What he wants to do, he wants a plea deal for 5 Guantanamo Bay detainees accused of aiding in September 11, 2001 terrorist attack, according to the spokesperson at the White House. He has set for something as a plea negotiation so that they will no longer be executed.
But remember the guy they found in the cave in captured him. He's the guy who set it all up for Obama. Or I mean, I might as well say Obama because Obama's behind it all anyway.
Wait a minute.
You know the big
Obama
guy.
did 9/11?
You know the big guy that we're all worrying about, Joe.
Yeah.
All Joe Biden is a bag man for Obama.
Okay.
Obama is the guy who's stealing all the money, sending it to the Chinese, trying to take this country down. And he is the you know what in a woodpile.
What?
Yeah.
Don't.
Figure it out.
Okay.
Haley knows what I'm saying, don't you?
Please.
Don't you?
I literally have no idea what you're talking about.
Don't.
He's the blank in the woodpile.
Stop it.
Doesn't matter.
What?
Oh, it's
This is
gonna
like
matter.
this is a dad
There we
phrase.
go.
I don't know.
Well,
I've heard
they
it
found
before.
him. They found emails that he knew all about it. He knew all about what was going on with Biden.
The Office
Okay.
of the Chief Prosecutor for our military commissions sent a letter dated August 1 to families who lost loved ones in the 2001 attacks, notifying them that a plea deal was being considered and that could take the death penalty off the table. That's
Okay.
what our government is trying to do.
All right.
You know why?
China.
Why?
They need Saudi Arabia's
I know.
fucking oil.
China.
Okay. Let me ask you
Because
this question.
Biden's used all ours up. We can't
Yeah.
even fuel our own military.
Okay. So let me ask you this. You said that this is the biggest disrespect you can do to not show up at one of these memorials, not be physically there on this day.
That's right.
So George W. Bush then did one of the
Yeah.
biggest disrespects.
Absolutely did.
Okay. Interesting.
He's a phony baloney. I think
Yeah.
he's a bigger pile of shit than McConnell.
He's a rhino.
All right. Do you think that Trump will use this as part of a smear campaign against Biden once it gets down to the
100%
two
he will.
nominees? Okay.
100%.
And do you think that this is worse than when Trump made fun of a Gold Star family?
No, he didn't make fun of him.
He literally did.
What did he do?
Yeah, what did he say?
I'll find the clips and I'll have them
Yeah,
next week
get
so
the
that we
clip.
don't have any conjecture. I will have
But
Trump's
if
clip
they're
next
from
week of making fun of the
CNN
Gold
or
Star
MSNBC,
family.
Didn't he also make fun of John McCain, like
Yes.
a fucking
yes,
war hero?
John McCain should have had fun made of it. He's one of very few American pilots that got shot down. He wouldn't even been in the fucking military if his dad wasn't an admiral. The guy was a fucking loser.
He was a prisoner of war.
Big fucking deal. So were 10,000 other guys.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't
Okay.
make him special.
It's
It makes
interesting
him-
the
makes
how
him
you
a
guys have to
It
flip
makes
your
him
mind
a
around.
fucking loser who got captured, then turned rhino on our fucking government and put us in this fucking position we're in now. If McCain had voted the way he was supposed to, none of this shit would be happening.
Okay. So you don't then
McCain is probably one of the biggest Benedict Arnolds of America we've ever
McCain?
seen. Yes, John
Oh,
fucking McCain.
Okay, quit yelling.
He's a piece of shit.
Fuck.
right. We've gotten heated up. Let's simmer down a little bit with something that is not political at all.
Somehow
Nobody's
I
going
feel
to
it's
tell me
gonna-
John McCain's an American.
Oh,
He's
dear
bullshit.
God.
Now, I had something lined up that I wanted to talk about for our simmer down, but I think I'm going to switch it up because this is a bigger thing happening in pop culture. We are talking about Mila Kunis, Ashton Kutcher, and Danny Masterson. Are you guys familiar with what's going on there, Mom and Dad?
Yes.
I saw it, but what is that about?
Danny Masterson was, these are all actors on a very
Yes.
popular network TV sitcom called That 70s Show. That
Yes.
aired in the early 2000s. Danny Masterson was one of the main actors on it. He has now been convicted of rape
Yes, I saw-
on 3
yes.
counts, sentenced to 30 years to life in prison. And now it's coming out that in his defense, Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, who are both filthy rich, big A-list movie stars that were also on that show with him, wrote letters to the judge in support of his character. And now they are getting drugged through the mud by the internet at large for writing these letters saying like, well, when we worked with him, he didn't rape me, essentially.
Yeah.
What are your takes on it?
Who did
Sorry,
he rape? People on that show that he worked with?
No, just like random people. He didn't rape any of his co-stars. It was, I believe, 3
Just brought him
women.
down on the street.
No, I mean, whatever. He's like a famous actor at the time. I'm sure it was girls that he met at parties or whatever.
No, I don't.
Multiple of them
that
give brutal accounts of what he did, including drugging them, and they were waking up to him raping them.
Well, that's terrible, of course, and he needs to get whatever is coming to him for that. But for those two movie stars to say, "Hey, when we knew him, he wasn't like that," I don't see anything.
Maybe they believe it.
I don't see anything wrong with that, I guess.
But they know that he's convicted of 3 counts of rape. You immediately separate and sever ties. You're a piece of shit. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Not if you're a loyal friend.
You know the reality of it.
You're not a loyal friend in that fucking scenario. You are not.
I don't know much about the story, and frankly, I don't give a shit.
Okay.
Right.
But now let's get back to friendship. If you were a friend with him at the time that you worked with him, and you could give an account to say, when I worked with him, he was like this, what's wrong with that?
No, he was doing the rapes when they were working with him.
Convicted of 3 counts of rape. No longer friends. Don't care what our past held. Like, done with you.
Yeah.
Go to fucking prison and rot.
Yeah.
So the fact that they did this and put their fucking name and face out there, pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right. You're
the
right.
The 51 guys that verified that there was no Russian
collusion
on the laptop, they're pieces of shit also.
Because they lied.
They belong in prison.
What?
Clapper.
How did this go political?
No, what I'm telling you is Haley always brings up stuff, and I'm trying to counter the two things that don't matter. Okay, first of all, 51 fucking guys signed a letter saying that the laptop was Russian disinformation, which everybody knows now is not true.
And they lied.
And they lied and signed a letter to it, defending Trump or defending Biden and his kid. So why aren't they fucking going to jail and rotting?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I don't know. You tell me.
Well, there
I don't
you
give
go.
a fuck. I don't care. Put them all in prison. I don't give a shit.
Bring them both up. This is the simmer down. The simmer down is you don't give a shit about those 51 guys, and I don't give a shit about your 3 monkeys from TV.
Well, yeah. Okay. Here's the deal, though. Now,
anybody from television,
it wasn't just
they were
Ashton.
On a TV show and they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Anything they've got to say is worthless as tits on a boar pig.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay.
It was also the woman that plays Kitty, like the woman that played his mom. Wrote one of the letters, a whole bunch of Scientology, fucking
Scientology.
Like,
so now what?
Yeah,
I don't even know who the fuck that is.
So now are they getting blackballed in Hollywood?
Well,
I fucking hope so.
Kind of. I mean, it doesn't really matter because they've made so much money. It is irrelevant, and they can produce their own shit if they want to. But what is happening is there's a big internet backlash. They then had to come out with an apology video and say, we acknowledge everybody's feelings in this matter, and we didn't mean to do anything. We were just writing a letter that was meant only for the judge to see, which then that's digging the hole deeper. That's like, we thought we were going to get away with it, basically.
Exactly.
But you caught us, and so we're sorry now.
Because I had read something like they took the letters back or whatever.
I'm sorry, don't cut it with me.
They took back what they said.
It does with you woke people, but an apology after you do something is bullshit.
Here's one that says, "What on earth was Kutcher and
it's like, I shot you in the face. Oh, I'm sorry. That makes it fine.
But it also opened the door.
It's bullshit.
It opened the door on a lot of shit that happened on that set where like Mila Kunis was 14 and Ashton Kutcher was almost 20 years old and they were getting together like off set and shit. Wilder Valderrama was like dating 15-year-olds when he was 25, like just crazy fucking shit. The whole set was just rife with fucking disgusting kind of pedophilia, sexual assault.
Here's one on ABC News. It says that Ashton apologized for writing the letter on behalf of Danny Masterson.
Who cares?
Well,
I'm sorry. Don't make it go away.
All right.
Well, that was a good simmer down to some degree. Let's move on. Let's get back into the meat of our program. Our third topic for conversation today is what the G20 said about the war in Ukraine. All the members of the top world economies met at the G20 summit last week in New Delhi, India, to discuss world matters, including the war in Ukraine. The greatest sticking point in issuing an official statement document was what to say about the war in Ukraine, because Russia, a member of the G20, would oppose condemnations of Moscow and shows of support for Kiev. What ultimately led to an agreement in the dark early hours of Saturday morning was new language drafted by officials from India, the host nation, and delegates from Brazil and South Africa that read, all countries should, in quotes, refrain from action against the territorial integrity and sovereignty or political independence of any state. This language, in effect, means the G20 dropped its accusations against Russia in order to maintain unity on broader concepts of war and peace. The G20 as a grouping is geared toward issues of global economics and finance, not international conflict, but Western leaders and U.S. President Joe Biden in particular have leveraged multilateral gatherings since Russia invaded Ukraine 18 months ago to show they stand united with Kiev. So, my question, first of all, is do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing that Russia got this language included in the statement or removed from the statement as you see it, Haley?
I think it's bad. It's bad for Ukraine.
Mom?
Ain't good for the United States.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand it quite all, I'll be honest.
It's basically like the G20 drafted a statement saying like,
Yeah.
here's kind of the conclusions we've come to after this meeting. Here's the state of the world as we see it, this kind of global financial conglomerate. They essentially
we're staying out of it.
They drafted, well, that's kind of where it is now, but the original thing they drafted was condemning Moscow, saying this war is fucked, especially financially. It's affecting all these different trade routes and all this shit. And it's because of Russia. Russia is doing a bad thing, is what the initial statement said. And Russia is a member.
And as soon as they flip that, they're going to get a nuke up the ass, and they know it.
They've already flipped it.
No, I'm talking about once they tell Russia, you don't have the right to veto all this bullshit on economic terms, they're going to launch a nuke not only into the Ukraine, they're going to hit Poland.
Okay.
And the U20 are a bunch of pussies, and they're scared out of their fucking pants.
Okay. So essentially
that's why we cut off grain exports from the Ukraine already.
Okay. So
because the Russians stopped it.
All right. So, Mom, what I was trying to tell you is basically the G20 was going to say Russia is to blame for this. This war is dumb. Russia, a member of the G20, was like, fuck that. You can't put that in here. And so they changed it to this kind of like nebulous language that says countries should, again, in quotes, refrain from action against the territorial integrity and sovereignty or political independence of any state. Essentially just saying like, war is bad generally. We're not pointing any fingers at anybody. War is just bad. So if there's wars, we don't like that. But one of the members of our meeting here is literally waging a fucking war.
Yeah.
So, Dad, you've weighed in on this. Let me ask this. Do you think the G20 should have held out and pressured Russia more about the war in Ukraine? Do you think they should have not given in here?
You asking me?
Yes.
Anybody who wants to answer?
Dad.
Are you asking me, should the G20 have pushed Russia into more aggression?
Not more aggression. I know what you just said. You think that if the G20 had kind of held out for harsher language, that Russia would launch a missile.
The G20 is a worthless organization. It means nothing to anybody.
Who is it that didn't go? Wasn't it? I thought Biden didn't go and somebody else didn't go. Huh?
He was there.
He was there. He preempted it with going to meet the Indian guy.
There was somebody.
Because without India, we're fucked.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this question then. Is this a sign that money controls everything and governments are kind of meaningless in the face of it?
It depends on who's in charge of the money per government. And in our case, it's Obama and Joe Biden who have an interest in our country failing.
Yeah.
So they don't give a rat's ass about the G20.
Oh, Putin didn't go. I just Googled it. Putin did not go, of course.
Well, fuck no, he ain't going.
Yeah. That would have been a very hard room to sit in, I feel like, for him.
Zing.
They would have come out in guns of fire. And
Putin's going to unleash hell before it's over.
I mean, really, all that's been happening in this war is he's been like losing ground, looking bad, really since day one.
Right. And what's gonna be the only thing he can use to turn it over?
I don't think there is a turning over.
First thing he's doing right now is he's trying to destroy Ukraine's economy. Because if they can't ship grain, they're fucked.
Yeah.
And that's already been done. So it's just a matter of time. If you watch the news, which you don't watch the right news,
right.
but
The right news. So that's interesting that you would say it like that.
Well, it's not news. What you're watching is propaganda.
So is what you are watching. It all is.
No, you're wrong. What I'm seeing every day is there are more and more civilians in Ukraine being killed by escalation from Russian rockets.
Okay.
Pretty soon, one's going to have a warhead on it.
Maybe. I want to focus on something.
Maybe.
Okay.
It's just a matter of, hey, let me put it to you so you understand it.
Okay.
It's not if Russia's going to use nuclear weapons. It's simply
when.
what day.
Okay.
Okay. Let me put it so you understand this. The G20 membership comprises a mix of world's largest advanced and emerging economies, representing 2/3 of the world's population. So not everybody's there. Right. 85% of the global gross domestic product and 80% of the global investment, over 75% of global trade. So not everybody's there. Why do we even have it?
It's the same reason we have the United Nations or any other grouping of representatives from different countries that are kind of like at the top of the heap. These are the top 20 GDP countries in the world.
Okay.
All right. So I wanted to ask you, Dad,
and half of them are going broke.
About something that you said to us right now. You said you don't watch the right news. You acknowledge that some news organizations
I misspoke. You don't watch news. You watch propaganda. I watch news.
And the news you're watching.
The stuff I read isn't only on what you think is my main news source. It's not.
What is your main news source?
Huh?
What is your main news source? Okay,
Newsmax.
And Newsmax
but now hold on.
Do they do it for free?
Let me fucking finish.
Let you finish.
Yeah.
Okay.
You always interrupt me when I'm about to tell you where you get your fucking news is nothing but a propaganda arm for the Democratic Party. There's nothing you can believe that's on MSNBC. Look at their fucking viewership.
Yeah.
I think, what's her name? Rachel Maddow, the man.
Yeah.
With the giant hands. She has like 100,000 people watching her in prime time. 100,000 people.
Hands? What are you
She's a man. Rachel Maddow, a goddamn man.
Okay. Let me hang on a second.
Anyway, you're assuming that I'm going to believe anything that stupid bitch has to say.
I'm not assuming you're going to believe. I agree with you. MSNBC is propaganda. I also think Fox News is. I also think Newsmax is.
I don't think Newsmax is, but now let me finish. You get little twinges. You get little twinges of the same information from your old boy Lester the Molester.
Oh, God.
Okay.
On NBC.
Yeah.
That one piece of shit, monkey shit on CNN is already starting to turn.
Stop.
All your boys in your propaganda room are starting to realize they're fucked.
Okay. Now, if I may, can I now speak?
Now you're free to go.
Thank you. You are correctly identifying MSNBC and many of these news organizations as propaganda machines. Strangely, you don't turn that same lens on the news you watch, but it also is a propaganda machine. All of these companies have one motivation: profit. They don't give a fuck about what they're saying. They give a fuck about how many people are watching them say it. So they design what they're saying to hook you into a fucking death spiral so you never turn off their TV. How often is Newsmax on in your house? Let me ask you this.
No. Half the time.
All day long.
Half the time?
No, it's not.
All waking hours? What do you
mean?
mean?
Right now, I'm watching.
Listen,
Mike
I've
and
been
Bob.
there. I've been there, and it's
As
either
have I.
it's either Hallmark Channel, fucking Frasier, or Newsmax.
Know what we're watching.
We're watching right now.
Tell them right now.
Right now is Mike and Molly on CMT channel, but when we woke up, it was Newsmax.
Gotta see what happened overnight. I turn on Newsmax every morning when I get up to see if Joe Biden has hopefully fallen down the stairs and broke his fucking neck. But I don't.
They're designing their media and their transmission of it, their delivery of it to you. They're designing it specifically to hook you into continually watching it and paying for it.
I don't pay for it.
But more
It's free.
and more of the regular,
The
more-
advertisers pay for it.
Oh,
but
really?
more
Yes.
and more.
They didn't have any when they
Here,
started,
I
smart
have
guy.
to get in like this.
Well,
more
how are you
and
getting it?
more-
Subscription
Huh?
of some kind. You're paying someone for it.
No, I'm not.
What?
It's free.
It's not
Yeah.
free.
Newsmax is free to the user anywhere in the world, anytime.
Okay.
Okay.
More
But are
and
there
more-
ads on it?
Free. Very few.
Oh.
Same people.
Sorry,
over
Mom,
and
you were
over.
saying something?
Yeah, I'm trying. More and more of the other channels that your dad says are bad, they now are starting to document stuff on
You're
the
smelling it.
on the Biden crime family, because
Mhm.
we do click over to them sometimes, and more are talking about
They know their shit
uh,
stinks now.
that the
Mhm.
Biden crime family has done this, and this.
All right. Well, we'll see where it goes with the Biden crime family. Let's move on to our fourth and final topic. We're talking about COVID. It's on the rise. Dr.
It's a
Anthony
joke.
Fauci, the former top
Fine.
infectious disease expert in the United States, isn't sounding alarm bells yet on the rising number of coronavirus cases.
Fauci is
in
no
the US.
expert on anything.
But he did caution that the trend will continue into the fall and winter months. He said, quote, "There's no
COVID?
doubt, as
Are
you
you
know,
kidding me?
and reported just a moment ago, we're having an uptick in cases, which is being reflected by an uptick about 17 or more % in hospitalizations. And since we're now at the end of summer, it's likely that this will increase as we get into the fall and winter months. So we need to be prepared for it. Cases have been on the rise since July, causing some schools to cancel classes or move to online learning. Pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer and Moderna are working on updated versions of the COVID-19 vaccine that are expected to be available this fall. In the meantime, Fauci said he does not expect any federal mask mandates, but encourages people to take the usual precautions of washing their hands and avoiding public contact as much as possible. Haley, are you worried about the return of COVID?
I mean, it never really went away. People in my bakery have had it. Kids at Harper's school have had it. So I don't think it ever went away. I'm not too concerned at this point. We're all vaccinated. You know, if we have to wear masks in public, we will.
Mhm.
I'm not
You're on that
concerned
third
at
eye.
this point.
Are you? How many vaccines have you had? How many
Me?
boosters? Yeah.
I mean, since it started, I like whenever we go for flu shots and shit, we get the booster.
So whatever, probably 4 or something, 5 maybe,
Yeah.
something like that. Okay.
Really? Whoa.
Mom and Dad,
0.
you never even got the first one,
0.
and you've
I've
both had COVID.
never worn a fucking mask except when the doctor's office made me. I've never got a booster, and I ain't got no fucking COVID. And even if I got it, it ain't worse than the goddamn flu.
We both had COVID because I tested positive once when I didn't feel well. I got really sick the first time. Second time I even got it, but it was like,
And I have fucking diabetes.
more like the flu. I think
Right.
he has had it once.
So Fauci's full of shit.
We've survived, but we had a very good friend named John. We don't have to say his last name. Died, I think, 2 months ago. He was a trader
From New York.
He was a trader on the floor with Dad and knew Dad, a very top-notch guy, loved him to death. Came down to the Texas Fair with us. Anyway, after he retired from trading, he then went into, he had to drive trucks and stuff for a health company that made him get the jab.
Mhm.
From there, blood clots in the lungs. From there, all kinds of breathing issues. From there, 2 months ago, they couldn't save him and he died. And it was from
And he was
the shot.
perfectly healthy before he got that shot.
perfectly healthy.
Did he get
He's not-
COVID?
I don't know.
Don't know. He did get the shot. I've had
But
a lot
you're
of friends-
attributing his death to the shot.
No,
Yes.
he did.
He did.
Okay.
He told us.
He
told
noticed
us
it immediately. He said
within 3 days.
he's the one who said it had nothing to do with Mom and me.
Within 3. Chad, you told me your booster made you dizzy. The room was spinning. Is that not true?
No, that's not
Oh,
true.
we gotta think that
Okay,
one
let
over.
Yeah, well, I'm
What-
like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what she's talking about exactly. It
Your
made me
second
sick
shot.
for sure.
you got old timers.
Yes.
Okay. Your second shot, you told
Yeah.
me you came home and you felt weird, chills, and then
Yeah, I
the
was
room
getting
was
sick.
spinning.
It was giving me like COVID symptoms, as sometimes those shots will do.
Oh,
there you go.
interesting.
Yeah.
I pray to God that my granddaughters can have children when they get of age.
Instead of 3 balls.
They may not want them, just saying.
Oh,
Just
shit.
saying, you might have taken their want away with the jab.
They may not have the choice.
So wait a minute. Now you're
You
saying
guys
that
realize that like growing up, Chad and I received like what, fucking 6 to 10 vaccinations
Let me
every
talk.
year
Let me
until we
talk.
were about 18.
Yes, and those vaccinations were proven. They were made in years and years of research.
Wrong.
And
The flu shot, it's like a new fucking strain every year. They're always making new shots and not testing that shit on fucking anyone.
Oh, it starts with the base.
Okay. Well, we will never get it.
Polio is
We'll
coming
never
back.
get it.
Oh, by the way, big surge in leprosy in Florida now from the migrants.
No, I don't think it's from the migrants, but
Yeah, I do.
You sure?
Yeah.
It'd be Chinese.
We didn't have any.
Vaccines are-
Well, might be. We haven't. They're fucking trying to get on our military installations as tourists now.
Yeah.
the Chinese
All
You
of
knew
these
that, right? Didn't you,
vaccines,
Chad?
the vaccines are why we still are alive past the age of like 30 today.
Oh,
COVID is
really?
no different.
Oh, really?
not the COVID
Yes,
one.
really.
The average age in America was a lot bigger than 30.
Measles,
25
mumps,
years.
rubella, like your Tdap, like all
Oh,
the shit we
Jesus.
get as kids, like that's literally why we are still alive past the age of
Oh,
like
really?
30 years old.
I had the mumps and the measles and
Okay, let it go.
COVID.
Let it go.
no, well, maybe.
All right. Well,
I'll
thank
never
you.
know if I had COVID, but I'm a 70-year-old diabetic. I'm sitting here with no vaccines, no masks, no nothing, and I ain't dead from it, am I?
All right.
No. But you
So
do
blow that
acknowledge
COVID shit out your ass.
that you do acknowledge that millions of people died from COVID.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
You know why?
They got the
How many
weren't
people
vaccinated.
die from fucking ordinary flu every year? More than they died from COVID in the United States.
Okay.
I'm sure that's not true, but
I'm
thank
sure it
you
is true.
everyone for joining us today. That brings us to
Because
the end
half
of the
the
show.
people that died accused of having COVID just had the flu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let it
All right. Well, we like to end our show by saying that we love each other, which I'm now going to do. Haley, despite all of our differences with our parents, I love you. Mom, I love you. Dad, I love you. And I also want to add on, thank you, Mom and Dad, for the job that you did as parents. I know it was not easy. I know that you guys had a hard life growing up to some degree, and that you worked very hard to give Haley and I lives that were far more comfortable than yours as children. I just want to say thank you for that.
Where'd that come from?
God
that was
damn, they're
nice.
silent. Look at them.
You know
Look at-
what?
They're
Yeah.
silent.
Because we never hear that.
Fucking speechless.
We never hear that before. Haley, add on. Keep it going.
How do
Keep it
I
going.
I can't top that. I don't Mom, Dad, love you. Chad, love you. Thanks for being great parents.
Yeah. Yeah. Chad, I love you. Haley, I love you. Bob, I love you.
Chad, I love you. Haley, I love you. Mary Lou, I love you. And I still hate the fucking
Oh
no.
my God.
right in the pan.
And Biden is the worst president in the history of the United States. I've got one shout out I need to do.
Hey, Chad, let me tell you something. You know the
Okay.
word you think is politically incorrect?
Okay.
Last time I checked, this is still fucking America. And until you shoot me, I can say any word I want. I don't give a shit who it offends.
You can
Okay,
say whatever word you want, but then I have to go through and bleep that out in our
Why?
podcast.
Okay.
You want me to leave it in?
Fuck
No.
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 I can't,
Okay. Listen to me.
yes. Why?
Oh my
because
God.
YouTube will ding it for hate speech.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Well, I hate Chinese. So there you go.
Okay. I have one.
Take away my First
Please.
Amendment right. Go ahead and do it.
I have one last shout out I need to do. A very special little girl named Abby was in a very bad accident with a four-wheeler.
You guys know Abby.
This was in
Caroline's daughter.
This was in Texas,
Little one.
and she was a passenger. Her friend was driving. One of those big wild pigs got in front of them,
Wild boar.
and they swerved.
They're all over Texas.
And it flipped, and Abby broke. It's the biggest bone from the elbow up. I think humerus. That's a humerus, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Snapped in half.
Compound fracture.
Had to be care flighted, and now she's going to have 3 different surgeries. So you'll heal up. You'll do good. We're thinking of you.
Shout out to Abby. Sorry to hear that. And
Yeah.
thanks everybody for listening.
I wish
this
I
week.
could find a way to blame it on the.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
We'll be back next week, probably, maybe. I don't know. If you have your questions that you want to ask to this podcast to any of us, just send an email to thenecessaryconversationpod@gmail.com. It's got to be a 1 minute or under audio clip. Thanks for joining us this week.
Oh, Lord.